As the young boy with his torn red cape wakes up, he finds himself stranded and alone on the beach, with only a few seagulls and crabs for company. It might be a gloriously sunny day, with those seagulls happily swooping through the sky, but it's the calm that follows a raging storm. Having survived his own stormy path through development, Rime is finally here, and is anything but the washed-up survivor of a proverbial shipwreck. You're immediately struck by this game's beguiling charm. It's familiar in a lot of ways, echoing the likes of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, or more recently The Witness, with its colour palette and its visual style. Similarly, parallels will be drawn to the likes of Journey, The Unfinished Swan, and even Eco or The Last Guardian for the gameplay, and these expectations and these points of comparison are valid, and Rime often manages to meet them, even if it's not quite as refined an experience as some of the best of those examples. Progressing through the world, you'll have to solve largely environmental puzzles. They could either be simply traversing through the world or moving blocks around. There's some nice Escher-like perspective manipulating puzzles, or you just have to find things to shout at. There's actually a lot of shouting, with the boys' cries making fires burn stronger or triggering these little blue statues and causing orbs of light to arc through the sky to their destination and do various things within the world. Puzzles are largely quite straightforward, especially with a fox that helps to lead the way and the odd button prompt if there's something that isn't particularly obvious to see, but there's one or two little head scratches in there that can hold you up for a few moments. Not a word is spoken in this game, but you're led on by the glimpses of an adult in a red cape off in the distance, and by the ceaseless yapping of this magical orange fennec fox that bounds ahead of you and can turn into confetti that blows away on the wind. The fox is absolutely adorable, and there's an obvious bond between it and the boy, but its yapping doesn't half get annoying if you're exploring elsewhere, or if you're searching for it but can't spot its orange pelt, maybe just because it's around the corner or it's actually quite a way off in the distance. There's no combat in this game, and the boy doesn't run around with a sword or shield on his back, so any expectations of a Zelda-like adventure should be quashed immediately. Instead, it's all about exploring the island and the environments that follow and solving the puzzles within. Even with this sense of exploration, there's also the feeling of always being quite deliberately led, first by the fennec fox and then by a later companion that was a simple joy to meet and journey with, which I will not spoil. Again, there is that growing emotional connection to these guides through the game world. They're not there 100% of the time, but when they are, they're in front of you, heading off into the distance and then waiting for you at the next part of the puzzle or in the next area that you're meant to visit. The world design does sprawl in all directions, feeling free and open even if you are being led down a fairly linear path in this way. However, there are things to discover off the beaten path with a number of different collectibles that could warrant multiple playthroughs for those who are completionists and want to collect everything in the game. What's pleasing throughout the game is how each area reinvents the game's feel and atmosphere. Sometimes there's the pressure of death pushing you onwards, other areas are dark and foreboding, and there's even sections that had me feeling completely lost, as though my progress through the world was actually completely incidental. When trailers have largely focused on the achingly blue skies and the pristine white stone of the island, it defies your expectations for this to only be the first hour or so of the game, before becoming dramatically different in tone. As each area comes to an end, you run up this huge spiral of stairs, and then down this huge cavernous corridor and into the light, eager to see what's next. Through it all, a story does build and grow, again without a single spoken word within the game. Some of this is environmental, with large murals that adorn certain walls and can actually light up and glow as you come near them. But each area is also concluded, or started, with a small, slightly interactive cutscene that evolves through the game, giving you a few little hints as to what's actually going on. It's a quite touching tale, and there's definitely a poignancy to the ending, if one that I felt was a little subdued right up until those final climactic moments and the last few reveals. Similarly subdued feeling was the music. It's a wonderful and varied soundtrack, a sweeping orchestral score that's uplifting when it needs to be and provides ambience when you're just exploring the world. But for those key moments in the story, I really wanted it to swell in sheer volume and just intensity instead of sitting back and relying on that gentler poignancy. Perhaps that's something that Tequila Works might come back to and tweak by changing the audio balance a little bit. A few other small issues nagged away at me as I played. There's noticeable stuttering when the game loads new sections on both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro. What you're seeing here is PS4 Pro. PS4 Pro does also get to push beyond 30 frames per second and offers slightly improved image quality, but doesn't reach a steady 60 frames per second. There's also a slight awkwardness to getting around the world sometimes. The boy's gangly looking run is definitely charming, and traversal is generally very well done. But there's the odd moment where the animations feel a little bit stilted, or something doesn't quite work how you'd expect it to, trying to climb up stuff, and then conversely where your route through the world is overly prescribed to you. Another little bugbear is when you're diving underwater and the camera shifts suddenly below the surface, and it's kind of jarring without the finesse that I would have liked to see. It must be said that these are very small things to complain about in what is otherwise a fantastic game. Tequila Works' efforts over the past few years have delivered a game that is full of charm and beauty, and as I've said already, it's one that can often stand up to many of the comparisons with some of the most fondly remembered games of the last decade or so. It maybe doesn't always meet those standards, but Rime is a game that has been well worth the wait. Thanks for checking out our video review of Rime, and we hope that you will like it. Subscribe to our channel and share this with other people if you've enjoyed it. You can also visit us over on the sixthaxis.com, where we've got this in written form and plenty of other stuff about games and the news, reviews and so on. Hopefully we will see you again soon. Goodbye.